Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for some more tag time. I've pulled out a background that I think is from the Paint Resist episode, which I will link below, obviously, if that is the right one, and a mop-up moth. This is the Perspective Moth, the Tim Holtz die, but for me at the moment he's not really being a moth. He's somewhere between dragonfly and butterfly, and just as I love these words hovering in the ink there, I thought he would look rather nice hovering over the top. I saw it's a bit grim and grey out today, so I've got some extra lights on, which is, look at his lovely shadow. Can you see that? I'm rather enjoying that shadow. Anyway, I thought he would look rather nice hovering over there, which is reminding me of those pink flowers that we did recently with a blue-green background. So they're going to end up being sort of partner pieces, and or it's clearly a colour obsession I'm having this spring. I'm wondering about, so this is one of the gel prints, little circular gel prints we pulled the other day. I'm wondering about having that as a sort of partial thing going on there, but I'm not awfully sure about that. Maybe in the paler green. It's not quite making me happy. So I looked at that, and then I pulled out, it's actually one of my winter Umbels, but of course Umbellifers grow all year round. It doesn't have to be the skeletal sort. I'm planning to put some flowers on it, so I think it's going to be this. So I'm going to pull out this large Umbel and show you one of my favourite things to do when I'm making a nice summery Umbel. I think I'm going to stamp it in olive rather than leaf green, and I might even put some hints of sort of bluiness into it, maybe with what shall we do that? Maybe with Stormy Sky Oxide, just some little touches of somewhere on those flower heads. I think it's going to be nice, and I'm going to pop that down. So if you're central, for once I'm thinking central, which is quite rare for me, so I might do one quite low down and one a little further up, something like that, so that he's hovering over the heads of the flowers. You see what I mean? That's very nice, and the Stormy Sky isn't really showing up, so we won't worry about it on the second go. I'm going to put a little bit more of the olive. You never know until you try though, do you? So you've got to give it a go. And I'm going to have this one kind of coming in the other direction, like so. Let's have a look at that. Something like that. And I might go even for one more. Do I want the little ones? No, I'm going to stick with the main stamp. And I'm just going to have it coming up from the bottom here, like so. So we've got a sort of profusion of meadow flowers, and he's going to be hovering over the top. So the thing I want to do is add some, if this is playing the role of cow parsley today, it could be Dorcas carota, it could be cow parsley, it could be one of the Ammies, Ammi majus, there's another Ammi, another Umbellifer, is I take a little bit of Snowflake, or other whites, but you know, any white acrylic paint will do. I've obviously got the PaperArtsy Snowflake chalk acrylic, and I'm just going to use a water brush, just because that's what I've got here, to dot on some extra flower buds. So I'm using the stamp as my guide. So the stamp is my starting point for creating something a bit more. And this is something I've been doing for eons. I did before I had my own Umbellifer stamps. I used to do it with one of those. There's a Tim Holtz meadow flower set, and you can get, there's an umbel on there, and you can give it a lovely coating of white floweriness. So I'm not being massively precise. I'm not trying to hit the exact end point of any of these, because the joy of these Umbellifer flowers is that they have that look of just going on for infinity. So it's just a gentle kind of accentuation of those flower stems, and I'm softening as I go. So I'm looking at those very precise points and thinking, I don't want it quite so precise. So now I'm going back in, just messing them up a little bit. I'm doing little squiggly movements with the brush to just soften those whitenesses. The occasional precise one is really nice because it tells the eye exactly what's going on. But then the eye is more than happy to fill in the gaps. That's quite a lot going on there. Let's get some down here. And the other thing about that is that lovely whiteness is creating an echo of the text that is hovering in the background, because we did our paint resist with white paint. I'm still assuming I'm right in saying it is the paint resist. I think it is. Such a long time ago now. Must be getting on for a whole year. So that as those white flower heads go on, the white of the text in the background starts to become more part of our consciousness, because there's that echo of the whiteness now in the foreground. Well, it's not going to quite be in the foreground. The dragonfly moth. It's a new species. It's like the hummingbird moth that visits the garden. It's a hummingbird bee moth, or a hummingbird moth bee, or a and it is the size of a small hummingbird, and it is like a bee because it buzzes, but I think officially it's designated a moth. But it comes out in the daytime, none of which I understand. It's the duck-billed platypus of the insect world. Hummingbird hawk moth, that's what it's called. Look up a hummingbird hawk moth, or if you go to my Instagram that is not my art Instagram, my second Instagram, @Bohemian Home, I'll link that as well below. In fact, I'll try and link direct to the hummingbird hawk moth video so that you can see the hummingbird hawk moth in action. He's not a hawk either. So yeah, definitely the duck-billed platypus of the insect world, but an extraordinary creature, and it's always a joy when they turn up in the garden, because they come for the buddleia and lots of the other buddleia butterfly bush and lots of the other flowers. So I actually really like that, even without the dragonfly. But now that I've been talking about the hummingbird hawk moth, I really can't banish the moth. That paint, I'm going to splatter a bit of it, but I was just wondering about putting some of it back in the pot, what I could put it in, just in case it's slightly contaminated with whatever's on the mat. I'll put it in my almost empty Snowflake, which is my bottle that I use for spattering. So I really don't care what colour the paint is in there. If it's not purest pure white, that's completely fine. But I'm going to leave a little bit on the mat, so I'll let that dribble down, and then I've topped up my almost empty Snowflake. I'm going to dip my scabby spatter brush in some water and just do a little bit of light. So there go little dancing flower heads or pollen, just scattering into the sunlight. And as well as the sort of lightness and spontaneity of movement that the spatter gives to the tags, it also does help with depth. It kind of just gives an extra something to what's going on there. I'm going to dab a little bit of that back where it's brightest, because I don't want it detracting from my flower heads too much. So let's now have a look at this with the moth, because I'm now thinking maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe the moth is going to wait for another day. I'm in two minds. I might need to let it sit and sit and look at it for a bit. What I do want to do is do a little bit of extra background detail stamping. So I've got the Tim Holtz field notes stamps here, favourites of mine for just little bits of extra detailing going on into these backgrounds. I quite fancy that in a bit of night sky as a little number down there. Ooh, yes. What else do I want? I want maybe so the more of these I put on, the less I'm going to want the moth back in the end, I think. Something a little bit geometric. Maybe this nice number plate. Actually wants to be that way up. It's going to be a partial stamping in any case, because that's the way I like these things. So I think we'll have that there. Deliberately not quite straight. It's deliberately not straight. I promise it was deliberately not straight. See, now I'm wishing I had some of these further up, but what we can go with further up is, of course, some word sticker or some such thing might go up there. What else do we want? Wondering about whether there are some direct stamping words I might want to use from this set. Dawn. Dawn is quite nice, isn't it? Doesn't need to be midwinter dawn. It can be any old dawn. Stillness of the solemn air. Dawn. Do you know what? I think it might be that simple. Eesh. Who knew? Dawn. The stillness of the solemn air. Or let's think about this. Let's not get too overexcited about that before we. Let's just see if there's anything else on here I want to put in. Orders attended to day or night. I do like that. It's kind of mad. Figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. I think it wants one more sort of detail stamp. So yes, it is going to be this one. Let's make sure we've got it the right way up. Orders attended to day or night. That's the top. Okay, I'm going to run that right along the bottom, I think, just to root things. Orders attended to day or night. It just makes me laugh. And anything that can make me laugh in the present day and age has got to be a bonus, right? I'm not sure it is dawn and renewal up there, or dawn and the stillness of the solemn air. I think it might want a word sticker just so that it's got a bit more presence. I'm also at the moment looking at it and wondering whether it wants mounting onto some white card, just again to bring the eye forward. That's kind of creamy coloured card. I think it might want to be actually white. Let's have a look at it on. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? Which means I need to go and find some white card. Okay, back in a sec. Well, the card I've got is somewhere in between the cream and the blue-white of that. But I think it'll do. But one thing I want to do before I stick it down is rough up these edges a little bit. So I'm taking the blade of a scissor. Be careful, don't slice your fingers off with this. You can use embroidery threading tools. It was one of the things that Tim used to recommend for scrabbling the edges of your tags. And I did have one, but as is the way of small things in a messy craft studio, it vanished on me. It'll be in one of these baskets or crates or something somewhere. But the scissors, I always know where the scissors are, so I might as well just go with that. If this gets a nice big rip in it, I'm not against that. I'm not aiming for it at the moment, but I don't mind a bit of an additional sort of scraggliness. Scraggliness all adds to the texture. So yeah, it's going to be that. Nice sort of messy paper scraps down there. Okay, a little bit of acrylic glue. So this is my Cosmic Shimmer as usual. But any acrylic glue will do. Goes down. That should be enough to hold it down. There we go. And if I line it up carefully, I can save myself 2 cuts. We want a little border about that. I don't think we want much of a border. We want just a nice subtle little border. And then my long shears will make the job very easy. Just go across like so. It's not even a whole length of the blade. And then up the side. Slightly wider that side than it was. Like so. And like so. And again, that framing is just bringing the white of the flowers and of the text to prominence again. I'm going for a slightly closer trim just down that side. I like that a lot, exactly as it is. I don't think it needs this. I don't think it wants this. Quite apart from anything else, his wing is covering up all of that flower there, which now that it's got the white stuff on, if I'd left it without the white, if I put him up there, that just looks silly. What about if he, no, that just looks silly. So that's that. I'm wondering about pretending I've sewed these together with a little outline. I think that might be nice. You've seen me do this before. So I'm just, this is actually a handwriting pen. This is no special craft pen. This is just a gel liner. And I tend to take two, so it looks as if I've gone backwards and forwards with my messy sewing. If I did do the sewing, it would be really, really messy because sewing machines and I do not get on. So there's a little bit of messy thread that got in a knot. There's a little bit of messy thread that got in a knot. And there's a little bit of messy thread that got in a knot. And then all I'm thinking is something very simple in here, word sticker wise. I could stamp some of my words and cut them out, but I'm going to have a quick look first just to see, because I am drawn to the idea of a stillness in the solemn air, or whatever that poetic phrase was. Stillness of the solemn air. I am slightly drawn to that, so I might stamp that on some of this card that we just mounted it on, in the blue, in the green. Let's have it so that we can look at it. Let's get you. You don't know till you try. And if it's not this, then I'll have a look in my word stickers. I might have a look in my word stickers anyway. Just onto there. So I talk about embracing imperfection, but when it comes to words, I'm much less willing to embrace imperfection, as you can see. There we go. Let's have a look at that on here. The only thing that's troubling me is the phrase might just be a little bit too long. Because I think I'm sort of looking for 2 lines, if you see what I mean. If I use one of the big words, that's going to be too big. The stillness of the solemn air. I mean, I do like it as a phrase. Let's have a look in here and see what jumps to the eye. Let's pop that back in there. I also like that it's in blue. Just makes a change. Let's have a look and see if something jumps out. Choose to see the good stuff. Look on the bright side. Remember the now. Okay, so remember the now. Always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder. That's a possibility. That's quite a nice thought. Do what you love, love what you do. Collect beautiful moments, but then that would need a second one as well. I don't think it's a black sticker. I don't think that's going to work on this tag. When nothing is sure, everything is possible. Small pieces make the big picture. It's true, but it's not quite what I want for this one. I'm gonna have a look at this, and as I'm saying, I want 2 lines. So where I cut these, to me, makes a big difference. Always be on is not where I want to cut it. So this is both visual for me, but also verbal. Always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder would give me 2 pieces that would look really nice, because there'd be a really short one and a long one. But phrasing wise, I can't cut it after the. I need always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder. I can't have it happen verbally in the wrong place. even though that's going to give me two pieces that are approximately the same length. But it means I can offset them to go like that. No, see, I think that's too much. I'm coming back to the stillness of the solemn air, so I'll pop these back in here. If you press down hard enough, they'll stay put as long as it stays shut. What would happen if I did the stillness of the solemn air? Bold, but I can always restamp it, of course. With the stickers, I've got no choice. Once I've cut it, it's cut. But with the stamp, I've got other versions. Stillness of the solemn air. I think that might be it. And again, positionally, it would be quite nice if I could have the words doing that, but that's not how we read. That's backwards. Now my brain doesn't know whether to go of the solemn air, the stillness, because we read left to right in Western alphabets mostly, but we also read top to bottom, and so the brain really wants to do that. I think it's that. And I'm going to do a little line round it so that it will both bed it into the background, but also give us that echo of the sewing around the edge. The stillness of the solemn air. Do I want to do just a little touch of inking around that edge, just to help it again bed into the background? Just a touch. Yes, I think that's nice. That softens it. It was a bit too much of a bold blank white rectangle otherwise. That just gives it a mistiness. Good. Let's glue it on. This is why I like my precision applicator, is when I get to these little tininesses. The stillness of the solemn air. Yeah, good. Happy. Simpler than I was expecting, but very satisfying. And again, just a little loose, messy border for those words. Who knew it was going to be that simple today? I think it wants a bit of twine. Of course it wants a bit of twine. Got a bit of twine. Are you a long enough bit of twine? I think I might want a slightly longer bit of twine. That's not very long. Let's look at it in there. And then we might be done. Just a little bit of tag time today. Yeah, that's happy making. So I shall be diving in for a close-up just to take you into this meadow. Thank you, as always, for your company today. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of tag time. If you have, then do leave me a thumbs up. Any comments or questions down below. I shall, as always, try to link to anything relevant video-wise. Oh, and Bohemian Home, I'm supposed to link to, aren't I? The hummingbird, hawk moth. And leave ingredient details down below as well. Thank you so much for your company, and happy crafting all.